Hello from Village, I'm Erin Parsons, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you guys about how important it is for you to select just the right vessel for your candle. So there's so many different vessels to choose from these days, from glass to tin to cement to ceramic and all the way up to wood. So how do you pick the right vessel? Well, for me, the first and most important thing is to make sure that the vessel is safe for your candle. If you're going to be selling or giving these candles away, you don't want to be responsible for something terrible happening like a house fire. So you want to make sure that your candle is going to be safe and that the vessel is going to keep it safe. So you want to make sure that you select glass jars that can handle heat. You want to select cement or wood that has been properly sealed so that it's not going to absorb oil and wax and then become a fire hazard. I know that many people these days are using dough bowls for their candles. I personally am not a fan of the idea of using a wood bowl for a candle. I think it's a little bit too much of a risk as far as I'm concerned, but I do know that lots of people are doing it. So if you are one of those people, then I just highly recommend that you make sure that your dough bowl has been sealed properly so that the heat and the flames don't light your bowl on fire. So all of the vessels that we offer at Village Craft and Candle, they have all been tested and will work and be safe for your candle. However, I still recommend that even though we have tested them, you still need to make sure that you do a test burn with whichever vessel that you select to make sure that your candle recipe is going to work well and safely with whatever vessel that you've chosen. So definitely give it a very thorough test burn to make sure that you know for sure that your candles burn safely. So that's the first thing. Pick something that's going to be safe for your customers or whoever the end user of your candle is. So then the next thing is that you want to pick something that is aesthetically beautiful. The jar is going to be the first thing a customer sees when they come up to your candles. If they don't think that your candle looks good, they're not going to bother to pick it up and smell it. So you want to make sure that you pick a beautiful jar that will make your candle look like something a customer wants to pick up and smell. So you need to think about who your target market is. Are you going for something that's more rustic and country looking? Or are you going to be somebody who attracts people who are looking for a more luxury, elegant line? So you really need to think about who you're selling to or giving the product to before you narrow down which vessel you want to go with. So if I was looking to be more rustic or economical even, I would probably choose one of our libraries, a flint, an amber, even a Madison. They can be a little bit more economical, but they can still be made to look very beautiful. With your label, your lid, these types of things can help amp them up a little bit and make them look beautiful. If I was going to be doing something of a more luxury line, I would probably go with one of our luxe jars. I don't have the 9 ounce, but these are the 15 ounce, or one of the Terra jars. They're just gorgeous. So those would be what I would go to. And a tin, the tin kind of falls in the middle. And this is just a small selection of what we have to offer at Village Craft and Candle. So once you've determined who your target market is, and you know that you're wanting to do either a luxury or an economical, rustic, country looking, whatever you want your candle to look like, then go out and find a jar that matches that. So then the next thing that you need to consider is the size of your vessel will be very important in determining your cost, because if you choose a 15 ounce jar or larger for your candles, you're going to need a lot more wax, a lot more fragrance oil, dye if you use it, possibly more wicks than you would for, say, our 106 ml library jar. Obviously, these are two different projects requiring two different amounts of supplies. So this candle is going to cost a lot more than this candle would. So you need to think about the cost that you want your product to be at the end when selecting the jar. This jar is more expensive than this jar. So that also factors in not only the cost of all the supplies that will go in it, but also the actual cost of the jar. So that factors into when you're selecting which vessel to use. The last thing that I would say you need to consider is your lid. People wonder, do I really need a lid? Well, the truth is that you don't need a lid, but a lid really does bring your jar up a notch and make it something, a completed project, a completed product, and it just makes it look a little bit more beautiful. So this candle will work. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't need a lid in order to be a functioning candle. However, this just looks a little bit more finished, a little bit more polished. So, and not only that, but when somebody does come up and pick up your candle, if it has a lid on it, as soon as they take that lid off, there's all kinds of built up fragrance in that small space at the top of the jar. And as soon as they pop the lid off, it gives them a huge blast of scent. So that can be really big and helpful for you in your sales. So I highly recommend adding a lid, but if you choose not to go with a lid, that's your choice. It's not going to make your candle not work. So something else that you want to think about is the number of wicks that you're planning on using in your vessel. If you're wanting to have a 3-wick candle, you wouldn't want to select a jar this size because it's just going to be too much. This little jar is only meant to have one wick in it, and the size determines the size of wick that you're going to need. So you're going to want to think about, you want to pick your vessel before you go and pick your wick, because the wick is dependent on the size of your vessel. If I were to want to go with a 3-wick, I would use this size. I generally recommend that you don't start using multiple wicks until your jar is at least 3 to 4. 4 generally is where I would probably start with my multiple wicks, but you can find smaller wicks. So you could probably start around 3 inches in diameter and then on the up. Anything above 4, you have to use multiple wicks. If you find a wick that's big enough that you only need 1, you're gonna get a lot of smoke, a lot of soot. So I generally don't recommend going with 1 wick if your vessel is over 4 inches. So those are the main things that I would say that you need to consider when selecting your vessels. So remember to test burn, remember to find something that's safe and meant for candles or has been properly sealed in order to make it safe for candles. Think about the costs that you're gonna wanna use, that you want your candles to be at the end of it, because all of your vessel is going to be the starting point to determine what that cost is, and then finish it off with a beautiful lid. So if you found this video helpful, like and subscribe to our channel.